Welcome back. We're so glad to have you here with us again. Today we're diving deep into every detail surrounding the mysterious disappearance of Jack and Lilly, and we'll also be bringing you the latest updates on this ongoing case. Stay tuned, subscribe now so you don't miss any of the crucial developments, and tell us where you're watching from. On May 2nd, 2025, a chilling call to 911 would set off a series of events that would captivate the entire nation. 6-year-old Lilly Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack vanished from their home on Gearlock Road in Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia. It was around 10 o'clock a.m. when Malaya Brooks Murray, the children's mother, noticed an unsettling silence after hearing them playing earlier that morning. When she realized the children were gone, her heart sank instantly. She made the call that would begin a desperate search for the two missing kids. Lansdowne Station is a rural community located in Pictou County, Nova Scotia, approximately 140 km northeast of Halifax. Historically, it was a bustling railway stop named in 1884 in honor of Henry Charles Keith Petty Fitzmaurice, the 5th Marquis of Lansdowne, who served as Governor-General of Canada from 1883 to 1888. Today, Lansdowne Station is characterized by its tranquil, wooded landscapes and sparse population. The area is predominantly residential, with properties along Lansdowne Station Road being primarily car-dependent, as indicated by a walk score of 0 out of 100. The tranquility of Lansdowne Station was shattered on May 2nd, 2025, when that chilling call to the police station set off a chain of events that would forever alter the course of history for this quiet town. 2 members of the Sipeknekatik First Nation walked out of their home and vanished without a trace. The bus driver, Brian Ward, confirmed that he dropped them off at their home on Gearlock Road in Lansdowne Station on Tuesday, April 29, 2025, their final day attending school before their disappearance. On Wednesday, April 30th, 2025, there was no school across the province as Nova Scotia observed a professional development day for all schools and public institutions. Little did anyone know, this seemingly ordinary pause in the school week would soon give way to an unsettling silence. On Thursday, May 1st, 2025, in the afternoon, Lilly and Jack were spotted with family members near Lansdowne Station. This would be the last verified sighting of the 2 siblings, unbeknownst to anyone that it would be the final glimpse of them before they disappeared. At approximately 10 a.m., Lilly, age 6, and Jack, age 4, were reported missing from their rural home on Gearlock Road in Lansdowne Station, Pictou County, about 30 kilometers from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. Their mother, Malaya, stated, "They were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time, and the next thing we knew, it was quiet." On the morning of May 3rd, 2025, a critical update was issued by authorities conducting the search for Lilly and Jack Sullivan. The RCMP urged the public to refrain from entering the designated search areas, as doing so would disrupt the search efforts. The ground was already being scoured methodically, with trained search dogs tracking scents and drones using heat signatures to pinpoint potential locations. Each individual who ventured into the search zone would inadvertently draw responding search teams away from the missing children, complicating an already delicate operation. Authorities emphasized that the search process was based on strategic, scientific methods and must be followed to maximize the chances of finding Lilly and Jack. By 4 p.m., the urgency of the situation escalated as an emergency alert was issued across the surrounding counties of Pictou, Antigonish, and Colchester. The RCMP sought public assistance in locating the 2 missing children, providing detailed descriptions of Lilly and Jack. Lilly, 6 years old, was described as having shoulder-length light brown hair and was likely wearing a pink sweater, pants, and boots. Jack, 4 years old, had short blonde hair and was last seen in blue dinosaur boots. The RCMP asked anyone with relevant information to come forward, particularly urging those who had not yet spoken to the police to share any details that might assist in the search. The search area expanded to cover approximately 4 square kilometers of dense, forested terrain near the Sullivan home. Infrared technology was deployed to help identify heat signatures, and all available resources were focused on the task of locating Lilly and Jack. Meanwhile, tension mounted within the family. Malaya Brooks Murray, the children's mother, and Daniel Martell, their stepfather, attended a briefing at the search headquarters. However, things took a dramatic turn when Malaya abruptly left the meeting, eventually being seen sitting in the back of an ambulance before leaving the area with her mother. Martell later revealed that he had not heard from her since and that she had cut off all communication with him, adding an emotional layer of uncertainty to the case. By 6:59 p.m., the RCMP provided an official update confirming that the search efforts were continuing into the night. Ground and air search teams from the Civil Air Search and Rescue Association and the Department of Natural Resources remained engaged, using all available tools to navigate the rural, heavily wooded area. The investigation continued to unfold, with the RCMP emphasizing the importance of information sharing. Authorities urged anyone who may have seen something or knows anything about the children's whereabouts to contact the Pictou County District RCMP. The search for Lilly and Jack remained a high priority, with the RCMP continuing to search for answers. As the search unfolded, tensions within the family escalated. Daniel Martell, the children's stepfather, was heavily involved in the search efforts. However, he reported a growing sense of isolation as certain members of the family, particularly from Malaya Brooks Murray's side, began accusing him of being involved in the children's disappearance. Martell refuted these accusations, stating that he was the only one still actively searching for the children and that his efforts were being undermined by unfounded suspicion. Malaya, the children's mother, left the search area later that day, reportedly going to stay with her family in another part of the province. Martell claimed that since then, Malaya had cut off all communication with him, making an already emotionally charged situation more complicated. Daniel Martell, the stepfather of missing children Lilly and Jack Sullivan, spoke to news outlets recounting his version of the events leading up to their disappearance. According to Martell, the morning began like any other, with Lilly coming into his room multiple times while Jack was likely playing in the kitchen. Soon after, Martell believes the children quietly opened the back sliding door and ventured outside. Their boots were found next to the door, and Martell suspects they exited through the back fence and left the property. Realizing they were missing, Martell immediately got in his car, searching the nearby dirt roads, culverts, rivers, and streams. 10 minutes later, he returned home and resumed the search on foot. As the day wore on, the search efforts expanded. By 7:30 p.m., approximately 130 searchers, including K-9 units and support staff, were involved. The operation utilized both air and ground resources, including drones, helicopters, and specialized K-9 teams. The search area was extensive, covering dense woods and rural terrain, with multiple shifts planned throughout the night. Despite the scale of the search, no signs of Lilly or Jack had been found by nightfall. The following day, Daniel Martell was interviewed by the Pictou County RCMP for several hours. The authorities confirmed there was no evidence of foul play or abduction. In a statement, RCMP spokesperson Corporal Carly McCann explained that an Amber Alert was not issued because the case did not meet the specific criteria, including the belief that the children had been abducted. She reiterated that there was no evidence suggesting the children were with an adult and that the RCMP believed they had wandered off. Despite this, a multi-agency response was still in full effect, with various resources mobilized to continue the search. As part of the investigation, the search was focused on a specific area after a child's boot print was found near the Sullivan residence. The local community rallied behind the search efforts, offering support through volunteers, food donations, and logistical assistance. Search efforts intensified further when new items, including a child's clothing and a water bottle, were discovered. However, Daniel Martell stated that the items did not belong to Lilly or Jack. raising disturbing questions about their origin and whether they were connected to the children's disappearance. The family, particularly Malaya Brooks Murray, urged the RCMP to expand the search beyond provincial borders, even suggesting a possible abduction. Malaya, who had been staying with her mother in a nearby town since the children went missing, remained out of contact with Martel. Meanwhile, the RCMP deployed 4 remotely piloted aircraft systems, RPAS, commonly known as drones, equipped with forward-looking infrared FLIR technology. This technology was used to detect heat variations during the night, helping guide ground search teams to areas of interest. The operation was part of the ongoing multi-agency response to locate Lilly and Jack, but the question of what had happened to them remained hauntingly unanswered. If you're finding this case as compelling as I do, take a moment now to hit that like button. It really helps our channel reach true crime enthusiasts like yourself. I've spent weeks researching this case, and there's so much to uncover about the psychological factors that led to this tragedy, as well as the evidence that eventually revealed the truth. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and make sure to enable the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos, where we'll explore other cases where public personas hide deadly intentions. The chilling case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan took another disturbing turn as the Royal Canadian Mounted Police (RCMP) intensified their search efforts. Officers arrived at the Sullivan residence where they questioned Daniel Martel, the children's father. In a brief interaction, Martel handed over his phone, fully cooperating with the authorities. However, the investigation soon took an unsettling direction. When approached by the media, Cindy Murray, the children's maternal grandmother, offered a cryptic response. "We're not discussing anything right now. The police told us not to." Her words echoed in the quiet of a community gripped by fear and uncertainty. By 2:11 p.m., the RCMP made a somber announcement. They revealed that the large-scale ground search, which had been ongoing for 6 days, was scaling back. Despite the tireless efforts of over 160 trained volunteers, as well as the use of helicopters, drones, infrared imaging and police dogs, no confirmed sightings of Lilly and Jack had been reported. The terrain, a dense and unforgiving forest, had been combed thoroughly, but the children were still nowhere to be found. The RCMP, however, remained cautious. They stated there were no signs of foul play or abduction, suggesting that the children may have simply wandered off from their home. With no immediate leads, the RCMP opted against issuing an Amber Alert, instead circulating alerts for vulnerable persons across Pictou County and the surrounding areas. The case, they affirmed, remained open, though the search now seemed to be losing momentum. On May 8th, the investigation took another complex turn. RCMP resumed their aerial search, deploying helicopters to scour the thick forest behind the Sullivan residence. Meanwhile, plainclothes investigators returned to the home to speak with Daniel Martel. The investigators focused on gathering digital evidence, inquiring about any phones that may have been used near the property. Martel, growing increasingly frustrated, relayed his experience at the Children's Protective Services (CPS) office in Stellarton. He had been denied access to his 16-month-old daughter, Meadow, and it was clear that the authorities were tightening their grip. Martel shared, "As of now, I can't be around Meadow with the kids going missing. Children's Protective Services wants to keep a tight leash on everything." His words spoke volumes about the growing scrutiny surrounding his every move. While he was cooperating with the investigation, his increasing isolation from his youngest child only deepened the mystery of the case. The tension continued to mount as Daniel Martel sought to clear his name. In a public statement, he emphasized his full cooperation with the RCMP, offering his complete transparency. "I gave them everything from my phone. I asked for a lie detector test and drug tests. I'm the one trying to move this forward and give any information that I have." However, despite his openness, the investigation had not brought any breakthrough. The RCMP began to focus on digital evidence, now examining the home's wireless router to track any unusual connections. Investigators were determined to uncover any leads, no matter how small, that might provide insight into the children's disappearance. As the search efforts continued, a large RCMP truck remained stationed in the area. Helicopters flew over Lansdowne Lake, and divers conducted a thorough search of the waters, but yet again, nothing was found. With each passing hour, the chilling uncertainty of the case only deepened, leaving a community desperate for answers. The investigation seemed to be going in circles, with each new piece of information only raising more questions. As the days dragged on, the haunting question remained: where were Lilly and Jack, and what had happened to them? The RCMP's search for answers was far from over, but with each passing day, the mystery deepened, leaving more chilling gaps in a story no one was ready to understand fully. On May 13, 2025, the investigation into Lilly and Jack Sullivan's disappearance took another somber turn. At precisely 12:24 p.m., the Pictou County District RCMP, alongside the Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit, issued an urgent update. Despite days of exhaustive searching and investigating, the mystery of the missing children remained unsolved, and authorities were now doubling down on their efforts. "We're exploring all avenues in this missing persons investigation," said Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon of the Pictou County District RCMP. The search for Lilly and Jack had now evolved into a multifaceted operation, with a dedicated team of officers from various specialties working around the clock. Forensic experts, major crime investigators, and other highly trained personnel had been enlisted to uncover any clues that could lead to the children's whereabouts. The investigation had already received over 180 tips from the public, and each one was being carefully followed up. The RCMP's tireless efforts had led them to identify 35 individuals for formal interviews, people from the local community, as well as those who were closest to the children. Yet despite the growing list of interviews and tips, the case seemed to be at a standstill, with no significant breakthroughs in sight. The haunting case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan entered its fourth week, and as the investigation into their disappearance continues, new details are emerging. At 7:05 a.m., the RCMP issued a chilling update. Over the past 3 weeks, ground and air search teams, along with hundreds of dedicated volunteers, had tirelessly scoured Lansdowne Station and its surrounding areas. Despite the relentless efforts, the children remained missing, and the case had grown colder with each passing day. "We are grateful for the unwavering support from the community," said the RCMP in their update, acknowledging the hundreds of volunteers who had joined the search efforts. Despite these tireless efforts, the investigation remained open, and investigators continued to evaluate every lead that came their way. To date, over 355 tips had been submitted by concerned citizens. The RCMP stressed the importance of speaking up, urging anyone with information to contact Pictou County District RCMP at 902-485-4333 or anonymously through Nova Scotia Crime Stoppers at 1-800-227-TIPS 8477. With no new confirmed sightings since the children were reported missing on May the 2nd, the RCMP's call for tips and cooperation from the public became more urgent. The tension was palpable in the community as families, friends, and neighbors alike anxiously awaited any breakthrough in the case. If you've come this far with us, we urge you to subscribe now, stay updated on this case, and be part of the journey as we continue to uncover the truth. On May 28th, 2025, the RCMP took a significant step in the investigation, appealing to the public for additional video footage. They had already gathered hours of video surveillance from the area surrounding Lansdowne Station, but the mystery of Lilly and Jack's disappearance remained unresolved. Investigators confirmed that Lilly and Jack were seen in public with family members on the afternoon of May 1st, 2025, near Lansdowne Station. This was the last verified sighting of the two children. Based on the details we've gathered so far, we've confirmed that Lilly and Jack were observed in public with family members on the afternoon of May 1st. said Sepley's Sandy Matharu from the Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit. Despite the confirmation of this sighting, the RCMP emphasized the critical importance of the time frame between April 28th and May the 2nd. They were asking anyone who had dashcam footage or video surveillance footage from the Gearlock Road area during this time to come forward. This public appeal suggested that investigators believe this area and time frame were pivotal in unraveling the mystery surrounding the children's disappearance. "We continue to explore all possibilities in this investigation," said Corporal Matharu. "With over 355 tips already submitted and more than 50 people interviewed, the RCMP remained committed to uncovering the truth, no matter how elusive it seemed. However, the question still lingered. What had happened to Lilly and Jack in those final hours before they vanished? By May 30th, the investigation into Lilly and Jack Sullivan's disappearance entered yet another phase. The RCMP confirmed that ground search efforts were scheduled for the following day, May the 31st, in an attempt to advance the investigation. Searchers from ground search and rescue teams would focus on specific areas around Gearlock Road and a nearby pipeline trail. The discovery of a boot print in this area had raised new hopes that investigators were closing in on a possible lead. "We continue to ask the public to avoid the search area to allow trained searchers to do their work," the RCMP stated. The boot print, though not a definitive lead, had given the authorities a glimmer of hope that they were finally on the right track. Whether this was the breakthrough they had been waiting for remained to be seen, but the focus on Gearlock Road and the pipeline trail suggested the investigation was zeroing in on specific areas that had previously been overlooked. Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon acknowledged the relentless effort of those involved. "We're continuing to follow every lead, but we need the public's help to bring us closer to the truth," he said. The question of what happened to Lilly and Jack continued to haunt the community as search teams prepared to resume their efforts. 1 month had passed since Lilly and Jack Sullivan were last seen, but their stepfather, Daniel Martell, refused to give up hope. As search efforts continued and the days wore on with little progress, Martell remained determined to keep his faith in a resolution. Despite the lack of new evidence, he stood firm in his belief that the children would be found. "We're still hoping," Martell said in an interview. "I refuse to believe they're gone. I won't stop until we find them." His words, tinged with grief and determination, echoed the sentiments of the entire community, where hope and despair were constantly in tension. No one was ready to give up on Lilly and Jack. Not yet. As the search for the 2 missing children continued, one thing remained clear: the investigation was far from over. Despite weeks of intensive searching, there were still no answers. Every lead, every clue, no matter how small, was being explored, but with each passing day, the mystery deepened. What had happened to Lilly and Jack? The haunting question echoed through the community, and the search for answers seemed more urgent than ever. "We're just investigating it further," an RCMP spokesperson explained. The search now covered a total of 8.5 kilometers as volunteers continued to comb the area, revisiting previously covered ground while also extending their efforts into new, unsearched areas. The terrain, dense and unforgiving, had tested the resolve of the volunteers, who had now dedicated more than 10,000 hours to the search. Despite their tireless work, the strain on both the searchers and the families had become apparent. Some searchers, physically and emotionally exhausted, found themselves unable to continue the grueling efforts. "These people have been out weekend after weekend, day after day," the RCMP spokesperson noted, acknowledging the sacrifices of the volunteers. The relentless search and the uncertainty surrounding Lilly and Jack's fate weighed heavily on everyone involved. The RCMP reiterated their commitment to the case, stating that the investigation remained active. They urged anyone with information to come forward. "If you have any details, please bring them forward," the spokesperson said, emphasizing the need for further information to help locate the missing children. On the evening of June the 2nd, 2025, the community gathered to mark 1 month since Lilly and Jack's disappearance. In front of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Detachment in Stellarton, about 100 people assembled for a solemn vigil to light the way home for Jack and Lilly. The event, organized by the community, was a poignant reminder of the children's absence and the deep sorrow felt by all who knew them. Prayers were offered by the organizers, and Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon of the Pictou County District RCMP addressed the crowd. Investigators remain committed to exploring all possibilities surrounding the children's disappearance. We want to thank all those who provided tips and information. Please know that we're fully engaged in finding out what happened to Lilly and Jack. Small children, in a symbolic gesture, placed stuffed animals and candles in front of the detachment, while 2 balloons were released into the sky, representing hope and a wish for the children's safe return. Despite the show of support, the absence of Lilly and Jack's mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, cast a shadow over the event. She did not attend, leaving many to speculate about her emotional state. Warden Robert Parker of Pictou County acknowledged that some might view the vigil as premature, but he believed it was necessary to demonstrate the community's deep care for the missing children. "This shows how much we care," Parker said, his voice filled with conviction. As the investigation continued, tension surrounding the case reached a boiling point. Daniel Martel, the stepfather of Lilly and Jack, publicly addressed the growing online hostility directed toward the children's mother. He implored the public to stop attacking Malaya Brooks Murray, acknowledging that the relentless speculation was only adding to the family's grief. "It doesn't get any easier," Martel said, his voice heavy with the weight of the past month. 1 month has passed and the grief is overwhelming. It's only made worse by the online speculation about what happened to Lilly and Jack. Martel, visibly upset, made a plea for the focus to shift to the children's well-being. "Put your focus on Malaya and the kids," he urged. "Her mental health is going to be reflected on our daughter, so I don't want anyone attacking Malaya anymore. If you're finding this deep dive valuable, now's the perfect time to hit that subscribe button. Your support allows us to continue investigating cases like this and bringing you the details that matter most." Martel attended the vigil, his emotions raw as he witnessed the community's outpouring of support. The event brought a mix of sorrow and gratitude, with some individuals even traveling long distances to show their respect. "One guy drove all the way from Sheet Harbor to come up and show his respect," Martel said, his voice breaking. "I appreciate that." While the vigil brought the community together, the situation remained emotionally fraught. If you know anything, no matter how small, about their whereabouts or the events surrounding their disappearance, now is the time to speak up. The community, the RCMP, and their families are counting on your information. Your tip could be the one that unlocks the mystery and brings these children home. Please, if you have any information, contact Pictou County District RCMP at 902-485-4333 or anonymously through Nova Scotia Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS 8477. No lead is too insignificant. Together we can bring Lilly and Jack back to their family and find the answers that have been so desperately sought. Time is of the essence. Don't stay silent. Your voice matters. Subscribe for more updates on this case and other breaking news.